I would like to call to order this October 17th, 2017 special meeting of the Sonoma City Council. Mr. Ken Brown, would you do us the honor of leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? All please rise.
My pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice and safety for all.
Thank you. I don't see a roll call on here. Should we do that, or we know we're all here?
Excuse me. Let's say we know all here.
All right, all are present today. We have one item on the agenda today, adopt a resolution ratifying the proclamation of the Director of Emergency Operations that a local emergency now exists throughout the city. And we will begin with our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Hunley and Council. In the time of a disaster, which is where we have been for the last week, the municipal code empowers the city manager as the Director of Emergency Services the ability to issue a proclamation of a local emergency. So on Wednesday, October 11th, I issued that proclamation, and some of the reasons and some of the issues we were dealing with you all know well. We had fires going on in a variety of places. We had displacement and evacuation. At that point, we had 3 evacuation centers in town being staffed by local community, the school district, and the city helping coordinate. Those were 2 for the Sonoma Development Center and 1 a general population. We had ongoing loss of electrical power, and police and fire services were stretched, and mutual aid was just beginning to come in. So with those facts, I declared the emergency, and under law, it only lasts 7 days. And at that point, it is up to the council to ratify. So we sit here today, thankfully, we sit here today, and we've been extremely fortunate. We have had no structures lost and no fire damage in our special town. But there is wide destruction of homes and commercial buildings and ag land within our valley and within Sonoma County and within Napa County. And there have been and will be economic impacts to the city of Sonoma and the valley and the county. So while I guess I would argue we as a city are out of kind of crisis emergency mode, I believe that we still need a little time to figure out where we are before I ask the council to release this proclamation. So on October 23rd, the council has a regular meeting, and with a little more time, we can then determine whether it's proper for the council to lift the emergency proclamation. But at this point, since tomorrow would be the 7th day, I'm asking you to ratify the proclamation, and then we can pause and look and see where we are. The last week has been traumatic for all of us. It has been stressful for all of us, and it has been heartbreaking for all of us. It has also been heartwarming, though, in a variety of ways, to see the love and support that our community has shown to each other, to our law, to our fire, to our police professionals, to see the true heroism that they have displayed. And there's a lot of local heroes, other city staff, school district. I'm not going to list all. There's so many people I will miss, and that's not the purpose of tonight. But I just wanted to say that I am sure that we will move forward collectively, and those are conversations for us to have as another day. But tonight I would ask the council to ratify and extend this local emergency, and be happy to answer any questions. Veronica Nebb, our Assistant City Attorney, is here if there's any legal questions for you to ask as well. Thank you.
At this time, are there any questions from the council? I have a question. So what does continuing this state of emergency or declaration of emergency, what does that allow us to do over the next week, or why?
I will let the city attorney go through some of the powers that we have as a city that we may or may not exercise, but there are some additional authority that the council has.
EOC folks behind us are enjoying their
There is a delicious
their
snack
break
room
time.
set up right there. I saw it earlier today.
So there are several things that the declaration of emergency does relative to a city once that declaration is made, and there are most of them have to do with things like invoking mutual aid, being able to qualify for reimbursements from federal and state agencies. There are exemptions from public bidding requirements in the event that we have to emergency on an emergency basis, procure something or put something together, build something, fix a road, etc. There are exemptions from the California Environmental Quality Act for those projects on an emergency basis, and all of those are tied to that declaration of emergency. So some of the recovery effort, if you will, that occurs within those first periods of time also falls under that emergency declaration and allows a broader set of powers to both the council and the staff, frankly, within the emergency center for them to respond on the fly to the emergency, not have to go through some of the laborious procedures that we sometimes have to go through to get, from point A to point B. I'm trying to think of any other specifics that are addressed to that issue. There are a few others. Thought I brought a list with me, but I don't happen to have it with me at this point. So mostly it provides some flexibility to be able to respond to the emergency under state law.
I was just going to say the entire list of the powers is on page 35 of the emergency operations plan.
I believe Councilmember Agamonte has a question.
I have a question, but I don't know if it's relevant at this time. I think, obviously people are wearing masks, and we're encouraging them to do that. So within this state of emergency, is there any way for us to be able to identify whatever toxins or the effect it has on the residents of Sonoma within the state of emergency? Is that one of the things that we'll be paying attention to?
I think this is, there's a lot to learn of where, based on this situation. I don't have an answer for you, Councilmember Agramonte. Part of, I think, this is cautious. In a lot of ways we could probably lift this now because we've been so fortunate. But I would like to, reach out and talk to some other folks that have been through this and to say, just before we release the local emergency, is there anything they wish they would have done? Information, et cetera. So I am being overly cautious here. Again, I think we are, we have been very fortunate, but I would like to be able to do a little more research and before we lift, and next Monday maybe coming forward to you to a recommendation to lift the proclamation or maybe extend it. I think the economic impact we don't know yet, and I just don't know how that weaves into this at all. So there's some things for us to learn and to talk to some folks, and coming, just out of with the EOC just closing at noon today, and that was our emergency operations center. We've still kind of been heads down dealing with day-to-day items, and I would like to understand what's next.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harrington.
I just want to double check for the purposes of this. There's no plans to approve any land use or do anything like that under the guise of this. I know you said something about waiving CEQA, but I just want to be clear, since there is no structural damage in Sonoma, that none of that would be happening.
And just to clarify, that wouldn't be true for rebuilding something. It would be true for responding to the emergency directly, such as if you had to build a fire road through. So it's about waiving it for purposes of responding to the emergency, not for the rebuilding effort. Yeah.
Any further questions from the council? Seeing none, I will take it out to the public for public comments. Just as a reminder, generally keep your comments to 3 minutes and tell us your name and where you live.
Ken Brown, 1396 Lubeck Street, a very safe street in Sonoma, thank goodness. I'm very supportive of your emergency here, but I do realize that an emergency of this type, as far as it relates to cannabis, made it difficult for people to access their medicine outside the city limits of Sonoma, the safe city limits of Sonoma. And it just seems that it makes it even more important that the city of Sonoma has a safe, local, medical cannabis dispensary with delivery service to service our citizens with their medicine. On another subject, I would encourage the council to hit the pause button on issues related to the Planning Commission. And this is an opportunity to gather our experience, our time, and there are some very important decisions that are coming up, and there's absolutely no need to rush those decisions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad, oops,
Uh-oh.
I'm glad everyone is safe.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr.
Good
Petlock.
evening. Good evening, Council. Chris Petlock, 426 Napa Road, Sonoma. Two things on this emergency. First, Sunday morning or Monday morning, whatever it was, when we woke up with kind of the smoky smell and somebody knocking on our door, we went out and we could see flames pretty close to the house, but otherwise we didn't hear anything. It was silent. And I remember when I was a kid, air raid sirens. And I just wonder what happened to that. I mean, I know we have social media, we have cell phones, we got all these other things, but I just, and as I went to wake up some of my elderly neighbors and tell them, pack a bag, you don't have to go yet, but maybe soon, that was really up to people in the community to do because there wasn't that kind of more basic system. And the other thing is a lot of our electronic marbles break down in situations like this. And so I just think if we had a more simple or basic system that can warn people. We do live in earthquake country and fire country. I mean, earthquakes are a little more likely to wake people up before they're overcome by smoke or fire. The other point I want to make is to this emergency proclamation extension. I think it's a great idea. I serve the Valley of the Moon Water District. Monday night, we had a 250,000 gallon tank burned down. Electricity was going out all over the place, so we couldn't pump up in the hills to keep the water flowing, and the city of Sonoma was able to step in and send us a generator on top of all of our other generators and everything else that was going. We needed more, and so the city was able to help us out to keep the water flowing so the fight can continue. So it's not over yet. You can still see the smoke in Kenwood. That could come back in a minute, so thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment at this time? Seeing none, I will bring it back to the council for discussion and an action. And we'll begin with Councilmember Cook.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sonoma ratifying the proclamation by the Director of Emergency Services declaring the existence of a local emergency.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion at this time? Just wanted to note that I think most of us took a tour today and saw that there's still fires north of the city. Economic damages, it's something that we're not going to know for at least a few weeks, so it's absolutely something that we need to do, give ourselves time to figure out what's going on. And to that, if there's no further comments, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Agramonte. Aye. Councilmember Cook.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Aye.
Mayor Hundley.
Aye. And at that, just wanted to make a quick note. I think there'll be lots of future discussions about, what we've gone through, events to recognize the people who have been so indispensable, but that will all be at a future moment. But I want to say thank you to the community who came together so amazingly, so quickly, And of course, thank you to our own first responders who, I think under Chief Aker, we have them to thank for the fact that the city has come through unscathed, and then also recognizing that there's so many neighbors in the valley that have lost their homes, and just to let everyone know that we want to be the best supportive neighbor that we can be. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting.
Chris?
Oh, yeah, I know. You want a good cut? Yeah. You want to say?
Yeah, Ludwig Street is quintessentially the safest place in Sonoma.
Yes, indeed, indeed, sure. Well, but it seems like it only takes a second. I mean, if you saw
Well, I mean,
what happened
an
in Glen
earthquake
Alamo.
would be a different scenario. I had a good meeting with Sheila.
Oh, yeah. Sheila O'Neill.
Yeah. She wants to help.
Good. Good. Yeah. Well, good night.
Okay, cool.
So after the smoke clears, we will finally get together, okay?
I'll come and visit you at the center.
I'm there, I'll be there most days from now for the next 2 or 3 weeks, so.
All right.
Yeah. Bye.
Take it easy. How are you, Joe?
Okay, how are you?
Oh, all right.
Getting around all right? You doing what Julie tells you?
Huh? You doing what?
I said, are you doing what Jewel tells you to do?
Yes, sir. It's always important.
Yeah. Did you drive here? You got a ride?
Yeah, no, I drive. All right.
Anything?
Stay safe.
You too.
Can we do this a future week?
Say again?
Can I do a future week and come to your show? Because I'm still coordinating some items and.
Yeah, I mean, you could always call in if if you're. I understand completely.
I've got. I have
Your
lemon
kids
juice.
are okay?